You are 10 years old. It is the dead of night, and the candles have been pinched out. You lie still beneath silk sheets in the royal palace, and your heart is beating so hard you are certain they can hear it, because they are in the room. Armed nobles of Paris have forced their way past your guards into your private chamber, and now they stand over your bed in the dark, checking that the boy king is really here, really sleeping, really theirs to control. You do not move. You do not breathe. You keep your eyes shut and you pretend to dream, because tonight, being the richest child in Europe, cannot save you. Only this performance can. You are Louis XIV, the Sun King, and one day 300,000 soldiers will march at your word. But tonight you learn the lesson that will rule your entire golden life. Trust no one, and never ever let them see your fear. But let us begin at the beginning.
You were never supposed to exist. For 23 long years, your mother and father tried for a child and received nothing but silence and sorrow. The crown trembled without an heir, and then, against every expectation, you arrived, and the relief was so total, so close to the miraculous, that the kingdom did not simply name you Louis, they christened you Louis Dieudonné, Louis, the gift of God. Before you could speak a single word, an entire nation had already decided you were sent from the heavens. Imagine the weight of that. You are not a baby. You are an answer to prayer, a divine deposit, a fortune the whole realm has been waiting 2 decades to collect. You are born into a France of gilded ceilings and marble corridors, wrapped in linens worth more than a farmer earns in a lifetime. And the blood in your veins is not ordinary blood. It is Bourbon blood, the blood of kings stretching back through centuries. And behind you stand generations of crowned ancestors whose every ambition now rests on your small shoulders. You do not carry a name, you carry a dynasty. Then, when you are only 4 years old, your father takes his final breath, and in an instant you become the most powerful child on the planet. Picture it. While other boys your age are playing in the mud, gray-bearded generals lower themselves to their knees to kiss your tiny hand. Ambassadors who command armies bow their heads and wait for you to acknowledge them. You are a king before you have lost your milk teeth. But a 4-year-old cannot rule, and everyone in that glittering court knows it. So the wolves begin to circle. Your kingdom is handed, for now, to 2 people. Your mother, Anne of Austria, who guards you like a lioness, and a cunning Italian cardinal named Mazarin, who runs the treasury, the armies, and the secrets, and who teaches you, without ever meaning to, exactly how power truly works behind the velvet curtains. You watch, you learn, you say little, and you remember everything.
But the great nobles of France look at the small boy on the enormous throne, and they see something irresistible: weakness, opportunity, a fortune left unguarded. And so they rise against you in a civil uprising the history books call the Fronde. The richest aristocrats in the land, the very men who should kneel to you, take up arms instead. They turn Paris against its own king. And your family, the gift of God and his mother, are forced to flee their own capital in the dark, cold and hungry, riding through the snow like fugitives while the mob howls behind them. You are a child. You sleep on hard beds in freezing rooms. You go without food. You learn what it feels like to be a king with empty hands, and something inside you hardens into iron. You decide in your small and furious heart that you will never forgive Paris. You will never again place your safety in the hands of nobles who smile at your face and reach for your throne behind your back. That is the first lesson of your golden life, and you will never unlearn it. The cradle they gave you is lined with gold and crawling with knives.
You are 22 years old, and the man who has run your kingdom your entire life has just breathed his last. Cardinal Mazarin is gone. For years he held the treasury, the armies, the spies, the levers of the whole machine, and every court in Europe assumes that you, the young king, will now do the sensible thing and appoint another chief minister to carry that burden for you, another Mazarin, another hand on the gold. You summon your council, the most powerful men in France gather, certain they are about to learn which of them will rule in your name, and you look at them and you say the words that freeze the room. From this day forward, there will be no chief minister. You will govern alone. Every decision, every coin, every command will pass through you and you alone. L'État, c'est moi. The state, it is me. They think it is the arrogance of a young man. It is not. It is the iron that hardened in you as a freezing, hungry child fleeing through the snow. You have watched powerful men reach for your throne your whole life, and you have made a decision. Never again will you stand between two ministers and hope they protect you. You will be the only sun in the sky, and everything else will merely orbit you and reflect your light. But deciding to rule alone and actually being feared are two different things. You have not yet proven it, and there is one man in your kingdom who is about to teach the whole court what happens to those who shine too brightly near the Sun King.
His name is Nicolas Fouquet. He is your superintendent of finances, the man who controls the flow of the kingdom's money, and he has grown impossibly, dangerously rich. So rich that he builds himself a palace called Vaux le Vicomte, a monument of such beauty that nothing in France can rival it. And then he makes the single greatest mistake of his entire golden life. He invites you to a party to celebrate it. You arrive on a summer evening to a spectacle designed to dazzle a king. Thousands of candles, fountains leaping into the night air, a feast served on plates of solid gold, and here is the detail that turns your stomach to ice. Fouquet's gold plates are heavier, finer, and more magnificent than your own. His gardens are grander than yours. His ceilings are higher than yours. A servant of the crown has built himself a kingdom that outshines the king. You smile. You taste the dessert. You compliment your host. And inside, behind those calm royal eyes, you have already passed his sentence. 3 weeks later, with no warning, your musketeers close around him. Fouquet is seized and carried off to a fortress where he will rot in a stone cell for the next 19 years, never to walk free, never to see his palace again. And you? You strip Vaux le Vicomte to the bone. You take his furniture, you take his tapestries, you take his architect, his painter, his master gardener, the finest creative minds in Europe, and you turn to them and give a single command that will echo for centuries. Build that for me, only bigger. Build me Versailles. This is the lesson the entire court swallows in a single, terrified gulp. In France, there is room for exactly one fortune, one glory, one sun, and it is you.
Now hold that golden image in your mind. The leaping fountains, the plates of solid gold, the 20,000 candles. And then step 1 mile outside the palace gates.
Out there in the same France, in the same year, an ordinary person can expect to live to perhaps 30 years of age. Out there, when the harvests fail, entire villages starve, and in the worst seasons, famine wipes out as much as 1 in 10 of all the people in your kingdom. Out there, mothers bake bread by grinding flour together with clay, with sawdust, with crushed fern, just to have something, anything, to put in a child's mouth. Inside your walls, you burn enough candles in a single night to feed a village for a year. That is the world you rule. That is the gap between you and everyone else alive. Let it sit for a moment. Now you turn outward, because a king who is feared at home must also be feared abroad. The neighboring crowns of Europe, above all mighty Spain, have spent generations looking down on France. They see a young king, untested in war, and they wonder if he is truly the threat he claims to be. So you answer them in the language kings understand. You take a Spanish princess, Maria Teresa, as your queen, binding the rival crown to your own. And when the moment comes to press your claims, you do not hesitate to send your armies across the border, seizing territory, expanding your borders, and forcing the old powers of Europe to do something they have never done before, to be afraid of France.
You begin transforming a kingdom that fielded 70,000 soldiers into the deadliest war machine the West has seen since the fall of Rome, an army that will swell toward 400,000 men marching beneath your banner. No single ruler in Europe can match it. And here, around your 30th year, you make the defining choice of your life, and it is not a choice of strategy, but of soul. You decide that you will never again trust the great nobles of France, not their loyalty, not their love, not their word. Instead, you will cage them in gold. You will build a palace so seductive that every duke and prince in the land will abandon their own power just to live inside yours, close enough to bow each morning, too dazzled to ever rebel again. You have neutralized the threats, you have humbled the rivals, you have made an entire continent flinch. The boy who hid trembling in his bed has become the most powerful man on earth. Now it is time to leave your mark.
Every emperor who ever lived wanted to be remembered. Most settle for a statue. You decide to build a sun on earth. Your signature is Versailles, and Versailles is not a palace. It is a statement of war against the limits of what money can do. You take a damp, mosquito-ridden hunting marsh in the middle of nowhere, and you command it to become the center of the universe. The final bill, translated into the money of today, climbs toward $300 billion. Let that number breathe. At the most frenzied height of construction, you are pouring as much as 1/4 of everything your entire nation produces in a year, the labor of 20 million people, into this single private fantasy. No corporation on earth today, no government program, devours a fraction of that share of a great nation's wealth for one man's home. Tens of thousands of laborers swarm the site for decades, and the marsh fights back. To fill your gardens with water, you order rivers redirected and armies of workers into the swamp, where fever and accidents take them by the hundreds in the worst weeks. And here is the first fact that tells you exactly who you are. You give the order that the carts may only carry away the fallen at 3 in the morning, in the dark, so that the duchesses strolling the grounds at dawn will never have their beautiful morning view spoiled by the sight of the men who paid for it. You want walls of mirror, and in your century, a flawless sheet of clear glass is the most advanced technology on the planet, a secret guarded to the last breath by the masters of Venice. So you do what only a man with infinite gold can do. You send spies into Italy. You bribe the unbribable. You smuggle the Venetian masters across the border at the risk of war, and you line an entire gallery floor to ceiling in glass, the Hall of Mirrors, shattering a global monopoly just to watch yourself walk. It is the equivalent of stealing the world's most protected artificial intelligence simply to decorate a hallway.
Now step inside, because to understand your fortune, you must live one ordinary day in your skin. It begins at 8 in the morning with a ceremony called the Lavish, the rising. You do not simply wake up, you are attended. 100 of the most heavily armed, most powerful men in Europe crush themselves into your bedchamber to watch you open your eyes. And here is the second fact that defies belief. The most valuable bribe in the politics of your age is not gold or land, it is the honor of handing the king his shirt, or holding the basin while he relieves himself. Dukes who command provinces will empty their purses for the privilege of passing you your left sleeve. To be chosen is to be powerful. To be ignored is to be ruined. Because in your court, attention itself is the only true currency. And if you pass a nobleman in a corridor and murmur, "I do not know this man," by the next morning the banks have closed his credit and his entire fortune has evaporated into smoke. You are dressed in silk woven with real silver and gold thread, in a single outfit that can cost the yearly income of an entire province. You are barely 5'4", and so you invent a solution that the world still copies today. You raise yourself on heels 4 inches tall, and you dye their soles a brilliant red using a rare pigment shipped across the ocean from Mexico. And you pass a law: no one in France may wear red soles without your personal permission, on pain of the dungeon. You are 4 centuries early the first man to make red-soled shoes a badge of those the king has chosen to bless. Now your senses. You smell Versailles before you see it, because a palace built for 10,000 residents has almost no proper plumbing, and so dukes and princesses relieve themselves behind velvet curtains in the corners of marble staircases. To drown the stench, your court pours out rivers of perfume each day, scents built from musk drawn from wild deer, and ambergris coughed up by whales. You yourself fear water. Your physicians swear that a warm bath opens the body to disease, and so you are cleaned by servants, rubbing your skin with cloths soaked in alcohol, and your silk shirts are changed 5 times a day to wick away the sweat. The richest man alive does not bathe, he marinates in scent. You hear music drifting through every salon, and beneath it the soft clatter of the casino tables you have installed throughout the palace, where nobles wager the price of a private estate on a single hand of cards. This is not entertainment, it is a weapon. A duke drowning in gambling debts to your royal house has no money left to buy soldiers and rise against you. You have turned the card table into a leash. And then you eat, and your hunger is the stuff of legend. You take no fork, you eat with your royal hands. A single supper can run to 4 full bowls of thick soup, a whole pheasant stuffed with game, an entire partridge, great slabs of mutton drowned in garlic, ham, a basin of salad, and mountains of sweets. So much sugar, the ultimate luxury of your age, that by 40 your upper teeth have rotted to ruin. They will later say your stomach was found to be twice the size of an ordinary man's. Above you, on a night of celebration, 24,000 candles of pure beeswax blaze at once in the chandeliers, burning in a single evening what would feed a village for a year, while 1 mile away people are still grinding clay into their bread. and on your chest, pinned almost carelessly by a ribbon, hangs a blue diamond of 115 carats, a stone the world now knows as the cursed Hope Diamond, locked in a vault and valued all by itself at $350 million. To serve all this, a single royal department, the Bouche du Roi, the mouth of the king, employs more than 300 people whose entire reason for existing in this universe is to season and serve your dinners.
And then comes your peak, the supreme stroke. You make a decision no king has ever dared. You declare this hunting marsh, this impossible glittering machine, to be the official capital of France. You command the entire ruling class of the most powerful nation in Europe to abandon their castles and come live in your house. Thousands of dukes, princes, and rivals packed under your roof, all of them now your guests, your courtiers, your captives in gold. You have not merely built a palace, you have caged a continent's nobility inside your own home and made them grateful for it. You stand in the Hall of Mirrors, multiplied 1,000 times in the glass, the sun of your own private universe, and you have done what no ruler before you imagined possible. But a sun at its zenith has only one direction left to travel, and the fortune that built all this is already, quietly, beginning to turn against you.
Here is the secret no one outside these mirrored walls will ever guess. The most powerful man on earth is also the most afraid. You have never, not for one single day of your life, known what it feels like to trust another human being. You grew up watching for the reach behind the smile. And now, at the summit of all that gold, the fear has matured into something that governs every hour of your day. You are terrified of poison. So, watch your own hands at the dinner table. Before a morsel touches your lips, this is the ritual. You keep more than 5 tasters who sample your food each day. Servants take soft white bread and rub it across your forks and spoons of solid gold, and everyone leans in to watch because the belief of your century is that if the metal carries a hidden powder meant to end you, the bread will turn blue or black in their fingers. Every meal of your life is a small trial by ordeal. The richest table in the world, and you cannot lift a spoon without first asking it whether it loves you or wants you gone. And the loneliness beneath that fear is total. You have caged 1,000 nobles in your house, and not one of them is your friend. They cannot be. Every bow hides a request. Every compliment is an invoice. Every smile in that hall of mirrors is reaching for something only you can give. Your queen, your courtiers, even those waiting in line to inherit what you hold, somewhere in the quiet of their hearts, they are all counting the years until your final hour. You are surrounded by 10,000 people, and you are completely alone. No one has ever told you no, and a king whom no one dares contradict slowly goes blind to his own mistakes. Then comes the betrayal that proves the cage is real, and it comes from the woman you love most.
Her name is Madame de Montespan. She is your favorite, the mother of 7 of your children, the one face in this gilded hospital you believed was truly yours. But your secret police, digging through the criminal underworld of Paris, uncover something that turns the ground to water beneath your feet. Terrified that you might one day replace her, Montespan had gone down into the shadows of the city, to the back-alley sorcerers, and paid for dark and unspeakable rituals meant to chain your heart to her forever. And the report says worse. It says that for years, she had been having the residue of those rituals slipped, drop by secret drop, into your soup at the Versailles table. The Sun King, ruler of 40 million souls, had been quietly swallowing the potions of the woman he adored and never knew. Imagine the humiliation. If it became public, every court in Europe would howl with laughter at the king who drank his mistress's spells. So you do what a caged man does. You bury it. You seal the records. You do not even punish her as the law allows, because to punish her loudly is to admit it happened. You smother the entire scandal in silence and let the world keep believing you are a god.
And in your most private moments, the cage closes tighter still. Your insides are a battlefield of illness from a lifetime of half-cooked game and infection. You conduct meetings of war seated upon a velvet chair built with a hole in its center, calmly directing the defense of your kingdom while your body betrays you in front of your own generals. Across your life, you will submit to the brutal medical fashion of the age more than 2,000 times, metal instruments and rose-scented water forced through your suffering body in the name of a cure. The man who owns everything cannot buy a single comfortable hour. Here is the paradox at the bottom of your golden life. You were born so blessed that you never once asked another person for anything. And that is the precise reason that now, at the end, you do not know how. You cannot ask for honesty because no one will give it. You cannot ask for love because everyone wants payment. You cannot even ask for help because to a god, asking is an admission that you were never a god at all. The sun is sinking now, and no fortune in history has ever bought back the light. You are 76 years old, just days from your 77th, and you have done something no monarch in recorded history has ever done. You have held a throne for 72 years. No sovereign ruler before you or since has reigned longer, not Victoria, not Elizabeth. 72 years and 110 days. The record has never been broken. But the sun pays for setting so slowly. You have outlived almost everyone you loved. Your son, your eldest grandson, even your great-grandson. One by one, you watched your heirs slip away before you, until the crown's future rests on a tiny child. And now your own body, the body that feasted and gleamed and never bowed, is finally surrendering. An affliction takes hold of your leg, and the limb slowly darkens before your eyes, and the finest physicians on earth, the men your gold could command, can do nothing but watch with you. For days you linger, fully aware, dignified to the last, the god discovering at the end that he was only ever a man. And then the light goes out. But you are a builder who falls at the summit. Your fall is not your final hour. Your fall is everything that comes after. Because the moment you are gone, the bill arrives. The wars and the candles and the $300 billion marsh have drained the treasury to a husk. You had already, in your final desperate years, ordered the magnificent solid silver furniture of Versailles, dragged into the courtyards and melted into crude coins just to pay your soldiers, watching a fortune in silver dissolve into gray smoke before your eyes. Imagine a titan today taking a torch to his own rockets in the parking lot, melting the future into scrap just to make payroll. That was your final act of glory.
The France you leave behind is exhausted, bankrupt, and quietly furious. The golden cage you built to tame the nobles becomes, within a few generations, the very stage on which your dynasty's reckoning plays out. Your great-great-great-grandson will inherit your absolute crown and lose his head to a revolution born from the debts and the hunger you helped sow. The palace empties, the fountains fall silent, the hall of mirrors gathers dust. The gold scattered, the dynasty cracked, but the name you turned into the sun never faded at all. 4 centuries later, the whole world still walks through your house, still wears red soles on its shoes, still measures royal excess against the standard you set. You wanted to be remembered. You won that war completely. So here is the question I leave with you. You held the greatest fortune any single human ever personally commanded, $300 billion, a continent at your feet, 72 years on the throne, and it could not buy you one honest friend, one painless hour, or one extra day with the children you outlived. So tell me in the comments, was the Sun King the richest man who ever lived, or the loneliest? I truly want to know what you think.